Hello and welcome to the Bodybuilding.com podcast. I'm Nick Coleus, man with the swollest license plate in the state of Idaho. Got a swole-ass license plate.
The swolliest?
It says swole on it, and I got it 5 years before I ever started working here. Totally by coincidence. It was God's.
Just wanted to be part of the Swole Patrol.
Apparently I did. We also have Chrissy Kendall, science editor at Bodybuilding.com.
Hello.
And
Science?
Globe Trekker.
I just got super nervous. I got to be like all smart and stuff in this podcast. What are you going to ask
This is
me?
an intervention.
Oh my God. What's going on?
He's dumb.
You've been saying some things.
Wow.
Everybody asked for this to happen.
Damn. I don't think I have a problem, though. That's the thing.
Really love you, but
I love the way I'm living my life.
Cassie Smith is also here, senior content editor at Bodybuilding.com, CrossFit Games athlete, pal of Mark.
Pal of Mark.
Is that
Female
pal
pal.
of Mark? Is that a thing? A lot of
Male
palms out there.
together.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
And we also have Mark Bell, the smelly Adonis,
Hello from the other side.
the power behind Power Magazine, the ass behind my favorite ass tool, the slingshot hip circle.
Mm-hmm.
Did I show you? I walked in on my 4-year-old doing lateral walks.
Oh, yeah.
Just like mommy does.
Trying to get those gains.
Right. My the first thing, I swear to God, the first thing I said when I woke up to my wife this morning, I said, "Strong ass, strong lass."
Yeah, there you go.
That's how I wake up.
Glute recruitment is crucial.
And we also have here Silent Mike Farr, occasional PowerCast host as well. Yes, or always.
I'm on that thing sometimes.
Okay. Yeah.
Why do they call you Silent Mike? Like, you're not silent. What's your deal?
It's this guy. Joined
If you listen
Everybody
to the
gets a
PowerCast.
nickname.
yeah. Joined in super training 5 years ago, maybe 4.5 years ago.
First day of my life.
There are a lot of large men,
Furry.
heavy men, strong men.
You're getting her excited.
I know. I was like,
yeah.
Climb across.
do tell more. Do tell more.
Underage men. Underage
Where
men.
do we go for this?
Yeah.
I was just like the youngest guy, the weakest guy, the smallest guy. So I just kind of shut up, learned my place, and then Mark to remember my name because he didn't care and made me a nickname.
Yeah, we do a lot of voiceover work to the videos that we produce, and so he was lifting with me in one of the particular videos, doing some deadlifts, and I'm like, here I go for X amount on the deadlift, and here goes this guy, and then kept back and forth, and then he came on the screen. I was like, and then here's Silent Mike. And then just people got excited. They're like, Silent Mike. They got excited, and so the name stuck.
They're excited about silence.
Yeah, Silent Mike and Smelly. Sounds like a wrestling team.
Yeah, rap duo.
Silent and Smelly. That
Wrestling
sounds,
tag team.
Sounds like hell.
Tag team champions of the world.
It's the sweet embrace of death. Is Silent and Smelly.
Chicks really dig it. Yeah.
Also, former professional wrestler, right? Current strongest coach in the world. Anybody stronger come along recently?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Depends who you ask.
You ask me, I don't think so.
And competitive powerlifter since time immemorial.
Since birth, yes.
Mm-hmm. What you talk about your first meet a lot? Is that a story that lives on in infamy as you coach people?
No, I don't remember my first meet.
Really? Can't give an age, a year?
I do know. Well, I do know that I lied about my age to get into the meet.
Oh, perfect.
I think I was like 14. You're supposed to be like 15 or 16. So I lied about my age to get into the meet. But other than that, I don't remember a whole lot about it.
Mm-hmm. Except that you stunted your growth.
Just
obviously.
Oh yeah. Well, I was on a lot of steroids going to that meet. I remember that. That was pretty.
Yeah.
That's like kind of the only real memory I have, is just how hard it was to stick myself at that age with the needles and stuff.
Using the internet? Buy all your steroids on the internet, right? 1975.
Yeah.
The internet was the net inside a deadlift.
Yeah.
At that point.
The interwebs.
You don't remember what your totals were?
No, I don't really have an idea of the weights that I did. I do know, like, when I graduated high school, I benched 405. But I don't really remember a lot of the other numbers. I think when I was like 15, I might have benched 315 or something like that. I don't really remember all the numbers.
And so the significance the first time around is really just ripping the Band-Aid off?
Well, just getting involved in powerlifting, as a kid, is neat to me now, looking back at it, because powerlifting is so popular now, whereas before it wasn't really a thing. I kind of kept it almost hidden that I powerlifted. Everyone's talking about football or baseball or basketball, and so with powerlifting, people are like, "Oh, I heard you broke a record." I was like, "Yeah." I did a little bit of this or a little bit of that, but it was just more of a real side thing. It was always a hobby for me. And it was always something I knew that I would get back to. So I did. I played football, did a bunch of other things, did pro wrestling for a while, and I always knew I'd circle back around to lifting at some point because it's the only thing I'm really good at.
Can you explain for the folks at home the difference between powerlifting and weightlifting and bodybuilding?
Oh my God.
Wait, they're different?
Right, I know.
Oh,
This is
okay.
crazy.
Listen up, folks. Take some notes here.
First of all,
Here
I'll
we
kind of start out by
go.
saying that.
This is a personal beef we got with the world right now.
Let them have it.
First of all, I'll start out by saying that I think what I love about powerlifting is the fact that anyone can do it. It's very black and white about your results. Did you put the work in or did you not put the work in? If you put the work in, you'll get stronger. Every person possesses the ability to get stronger, whether you're short or fat, tall, skinny, doesn't really matter. If you put in the work towards getting stronger, you have the ability to get stronger. Not everybody has the ability to do bodybuilding. Not everybody has the ability to do Olympic lifting. Not everybody has the ability to do CrossFit. In CrossFit, there's so many movements that eliminate people. They just can't simply do the movements, too many injuries, they're too old, not mobile enough. Weightlifting, same thing, mobility can be an issue. So doing a snatch, sometimes people are automatically ruled out. And when it comes to bodybuilding, who the fuck can follow a bodybuilding diet? I mean, really, like,
Not anybody.
I mean, Mike, yeah, right, yeah, no one can do it. It's impossible. But Mike and I have worked with a lot of people over the years, and I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people over the years and given them diet advice. You know, 1 out of every 20 people actually really follow what you said in terms of the diet. In terms of lifting, it's usually not a problem. Probably almost, 90, 95% of the people really listen to you when it comes to lifting. The diet side is so hard. So, the big difference between some of those sports, between powerlifting and weightlifting, in powerlifting, another big advantage of powerlifting is you get to lift more weight. In Olympic lifting, there's so much skill and there's other things involved, other dynamics to the lift that are involved that force you to use less weight. Olympic lifting is comprised of a clean and jerk and a snatch, or you're putting weight over your head and doing these weird tricks to get the weight up over your head. And in powerlifting, it's comprised of a squat, bench press, and deadlift. In a powerlifting meet, you get to do 9 attempts, and you're judged by 3 judges. You get judged on various things: squat depth, locking out benches, locking out deadlifts, and things like that. And what was the other thing you said?
Bodybuilding.
Bodybuilding, yes.
The most important, obviously.
Yeah, bodybuilding kind of plays into almost everything that anyone does inside of a gym almost, because anything anyone's doing towards just building their body or bettering their body, I would consider bodybuilding. Whether you're doing 3 sets of 3 or 3 sets of 10, I would kind of consider it all to be the same thing. You're lifting weights to try to make yourself better. The mission and the goal sometimes gets skewed by people. The mission and the goal is to always get more jacked and always gain more muscle, whether you're male or female or whether you're old or young, because the more muscle mass that you have, the more that your body will work for you, rather than you being a slave to your body trying to figure out how to burn calories and stuff like that.
That's a very nice way to put it.
Yes. Good answer.
No, what role does competition play in powerlifting in particular? Do you feel like somebody? I mean, how many percentage-wise of the people that you guys work with end up actually competing, and how much is that a priority?
I would say now it's a lot. It's the majority. In our gym, almost everyone competes, right?
Yeah, I think you kind of get kicked out if you don't compete, and that's like Mark said, that anybody can powerlift. That's kind of the point of it. Is we're kind of busy traveling stuff, so we might compete less, especially Mark, than he used to. But you can compete, and when you do compete, your training, your diet, your sleep, your priorities start to get in line a lot better. That's why it's kind of cool. Like, yeah, I think anybody could probably get into a weightlifting meet, but it might take you a couple of years to be able even to do the lifts. Like, we could probably teach someone to efficiently squat, bench, and deadlift in a month, and then throw them into a meet if they wanted to. And then your training's just going next level when you put yourself on the line like that.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. If somebody says, "Yeah, I kind of want to compete," well, there's a meet in 4 weeks. I was thinking of just signing up for it just to sort of gauge where I'm at.
Yeah.
Do you guys endorse that approach, or are you like, no, you got to take this shit seriously? Do it 16 weeks out.
No, I'd say go do it.
I was talking about Cassie here. I'm not trying to talk you out of this meet.
I threw you under the bus.
Yeah, we encourage people to get into competition. Somebody has a local 4K to run or something like that, a local run they get involved in, a turkey trot, whatever you call it. There's always something going on in terms of like running or something like that. And people have no problem hopping into that. and they never talk about what place they finish in it. They just like go and do it, and I'm sure they get slaughtered. There's probably a few freaks there that can really run, right? But when it comes to weightlifting or powerlifting, people are like, no, I only want to do it if I'm going to win. It's like, well, that might take a really long time,
or never.
And you might run into a real maniac here and there. You know, you might run into a really gifted lifter. Maybe you run into somebody who's going to compete in the Olympics or something at some point. Who knows who you're going to run into? So that's not a great mindset. The mindset is to get in front of judges, have official lifts in the books, official lifts on the books, and it's something that you can judge yourself against other people, and then you can judge yourself against yourself the next time that you go out and compete.
Yeah.
Make yourself accountable for your training. So if you go in and you bench 200 pounds in training and you're all excited, that's a training lift. That's a power lifter would discredit that lift and say, well, it wasn't in competition. You got to go to the competition and actually do it on the platform as the rest of us are making
or Instagram.
Or you can go the IG route.
So would you say for that new person that's going to compete in 4 weeks, what do you spend the most time on? Is just learning obviously there's different calls, different counts, and it's different than what you see going on in the gym. So how do you split up their training just to get them ready for the meet, make sure that they can get a few white lights, or is it to try to actually increase strength a little bit before they go in?
Rule number one is to always check with whatever federation it is that you're going to compete in, because you need to know how the lifts need to be done. Each federation has like its own set of rules. You got to make sure you have the proper equipment going in. You might need a singlet. A lot of people don't realize that you need a singlet when you go and compete in powerlifting. And so they show up and they don't have one. They think they can buy one there. And for some reason, it can never gets executed well enough where you can actually buy one there. Even though I actually make singlets, we don't even have them at meets a lot of times.
Borrow one from
Yeah. Well, that happens.
It does happen.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. That happens a lot. I don't even know why the need for the singlet. I think it's a little overkill personally, but it is the sport and it is part of it. So you need to just make sure that you understand all that stuff going in. In terms of like trying to get stronger, probably really won't get stronger. Maybe that would be a good time if you're not currently working on 1 rep maxes to do a few 1 rep, not real maxes, but 1 rep 80%, 90%, just to see where about you're going to be, because now you have to pick what are called openers. That's your first attempt in the meet. Those are lifts that should represent something that you can do very cleanly, very easy. Even if you're sick or not feeling good, you can still blast those lifts out. We recommend that it's something that you can do for like 3 reps. Your second attempt would be something that you can do for like 2 reps. And then your third attempt would be kind of getting closer to a max. So, in a powerlifting meet, it's a great environment to really go for a true max. Mike and I kind of have the same mindset. We don't really believe in going for maxes in the gym. We might go for a PR, personal record, personal best, but a personal record and a personal best, if your training is done right and you're training optimally, you'll be able to get a personal best without it being a max effort.
What about going for a PR in the YouTube comments?
That's daily. Yeah. That's the Bulgarian method.
Yeah, we love those YouTube comments.
That's my problem with 1 rep max strength, is that it's such a little thing on your driver's license online. I've always thought it'd be fun to have a powerlifting meet where you have to hit 3 reps. You got to do your 3 RM.
Yeah, your credibility's on your license. That'd be great.
There's some stuff.
How much you bench?
Like CrossFit does, like ladders, like a deadlift ladder and stuff like that. That's really cool. We talk about that often. That just making competitions just for fun, whether it is for YouTube or Instagram or just for us having fun. 5 rep max competition or whatever it may be, kind of evens the playing field for some people. Like Mark's gonna outbench me until he's probably 70. But if we do, I don't know, 135 all the way up to 315, and we got to do some deadlifts in between or something, maybe we even the ground a little bit. Sure.
Do you find some little formulas where you're like, oh God, this would just be a great
something.
competition?
I haven't yet, but I should. I should come up with like 3 games that I can beat them at.
Yeah. That's a really good segue into a question I wanted to ask you for a while, Mark, is as a meathead.
Do you think about me a lot?
I do.
Okay,
Weirdly. So. Sorry.
Not weird
Sorry,
at all.
Mrs. Bell. As a CrossFitter, I get a lot of, and in this community, you get a lot of hate, and people have a huge problem with the sport. And you guys have actually really embraced it, which I really appreciate, and have worked with CrossFitters and particularly women that are strong. And can you talk about how that relationship started and how you like
the women? That's Mike's fault.
Relationship? We don't like to call it a relationship. Or acquaintances.
Put labels on
really
anything.
Throwing us under the bus now. All those relationships.
Water with bonus.
Yeah. Bone something.
CrossFit. But yeah, why don't you? What do you like about it? Why?
And was
why
it hard
have
for
you? Yeah, why was it hard for you to like it?
Were you,
Oh, wait, what are we talking about? Was
it a difficult thing?
Sort of. To be more serious, we've embraced CrossFit from day one because I recognize that CrossFit is really fucking hard to do. Yeah. It just seems brutal. And the fact that it's got people doing squats and people doing deadlifts and it's got people with barbells in their hands, I really did like the fact that it had women even more so than the men. There's more women attracted to it, maybe because the guys have their shirts off. I'm not sure.
They don't look like us.
Yeah, that look the opposite of the way we look right now, especially. But I really like the fact that it was empowering women and getting women to kind of think with a totally different mindset than they ever thought before. They're now flipping tires and I think just doing shit that they probably thought was never possible before. And then instead of them worrying about like how much they weigh on the scale all the time, they're more worried about performance-based activity and how well they can do in a given contest or a given workout or WOD. And when your mind is there, it's easier to make progress with your body. So it's interesting once you kind of ease off and you're not trying so damn hard to lose a pound or two for so and so or for this and that. It's that much easier to actually lose weight because again, when you start to lift weights and you start to put a barbell in your hand and you start to do some of the workouts as CrossFitters do, you're going to burn fat and gain muscle. And when you keep that muscle on your body's going to work for you rather than you working for it.
I think there's a lot of middle ground of CrossFitters, bodybuilders, powerlifters, weightlifters, especially bodybuilders and powerlifters. They used to talk shit on each other, right? Like, oh, bro, you just look good. Oh, bro, you're fat and you can only lift, right? But then CrossFit came around and it kind of became that thing that everybody's hating on for no reason. But it's also that middle ground of trolls, just like a YouTube comment, that are the ones saying this. We've been lucky enough to deal with the top powerlifters, some of the top bodybuilders, the top CrossFitters, and those guys aren't like that. Like they know, like, oh, if I want to deadlift, and I'm going to go to Mark. Oh, if I need to weightlift, I need to go see, our friend Max Ada or whoever it might be. Rather than, no, powerlifters got nothing to teach me. Right. They can't even do a handstand walk. Like, all right, bro. Like.
It was a huge influence, too, having good CrossFitters around. The CrossFitters I worked with in the beginning were awesome, so that helped a lot. I could see their work ethic.
And you find that those super strong people just don't pay attention to the comments online, or are they aware of comments online? Because you hear like, oh yeah, an NBA player going into the finals, he's on strict media
I
ban,
don't know. I think they pay attention, they just shrug it off. Because they have a mutual respect for, like I said, the other top people in the other sport, and what else do you really need? Do you want respect from the kind of these ants down there, or you want like from the real people caring?
Yeah, I think everyone hears the noise. I think you can't avoid it. You see comments over and over again. You can't help but have it be hurtful at some point. But really, it's kind of absurd to have it even bother you at all, because if someone was to shout something at you, like even on the street or something, which no one would ever actually do, but if they did, you would be like so shocked that you wouldn't even think they were yelling at you. So you'd probably just keep walking. Yeah. It wouldn't even it wouldn't phase you at all. And you might even kind of look and be like, that person doesn't have any clue. I don't even know who that person is at all. And that would be your way of kind of like dealing with it. You'd be like, okay, I'll keep walking or whatever. But yeah, these people that make these comments online, I think that, number one, I'd like to see people think a little bit more before they make a comment, because I do think people can criticize, and I think they can have fun with criticizing, and I think they can be a little over the top and outlandish and still have fun with it without like being so like they're way too negative. And I think a lot of times it's probably just kids. It's probably younger people that are just making these kind of crazy comments. They're not really making any sense. Like I see comments where someone will make fun of me. I'm like, you can make fun of me so much better than that. Like that's that's not that funny, And I've had other ones that have come in that are funny, and then I'll show it to Mike. Like, this is fucking hilarious, And he'll show one that someone said something about him, and we think it's like actually funny. So it's like, think about it before you actually put something down. And if you're going to criticize somebody on something, then maybe you should be knowledgeable on some of the subjects that you're trying to comment on.
Yeah, knowledgeable is no fun, though.
Nah.
Chrissy can attest to that.
Oh, yeah. I love the YouTube comments about my blue shirt. It's all they're about.
Those are the ones that are funny, is the thing.
Yeah, I get a good laugh out of them. I love them. But
I don't know. It seems like that. Yeah, those comments also sort of miss sometimes. It's like CrossFit clearly came into being at a time when the world of strength was totally ready for another strength sport.
Oh, absolutely.
In there. Like it met a need that was out there. What was it about that? Yeah, about the galaxy turning in that moment where CrossFit just can sort of explode like that. There had to have been other things like that in the past that never had the chance to blossom.
That's the stuff that people don't want to admit. You know, people don't want to admit that powerlifting is boring, and that strongman is actually not boring, but strongman is like a very dysfunctional sport.
Maybe too extreme.
Too extreme. It's messed up from top to bottom in a lot of ways. I love strongman. I like a lot of the athletes. I'm very close to a lot of the athletes in strongman, but holy crap, is that sport really messed up. Bodybuilding, kind of same. Like some of these sports are just, they've been around a long time. They have an old way of thinking, and you're right, it was time for something new, time for something different. The thinking of Greg Glassman and Dave Castro, while it may be a lot different, at least it's their thoughts and it's what they want to do. And if you're in their way, then you're going to get run over. Right. You know, they do things their own way. They don't care who steps in and intervenes or wants to change stuff. Mike and I were at the games one year when the ESPN people were kind of complaining because things were getting switched up so much, or like we spent so much time on these graphics that said certain things, certain weights and certain things. Now it's all different. We got to go back and change it. But CrossFit they don't care. They're going to do their thing their way, the way they think is going to give them the best product that they can have.
Everything trying to goes in cycles, you know, like Mark said he witnessed it firsthand as a kid, like going to the gym. There was no like powerlifters or bodybuilders. It was like guys trying to get bigger and guys trying to get stronger. And I witnessed that trying to study some of the history of lifting and things. Then you get to maybe the 80s, 90s, and everything starts to go to machines. All these barbells are on tracks. Everything, you're sitting in a seat. So I think it was just about time that the barbell starts to come around. No doubt CrossFit had a huge impact on weightlifting and powerlifting, but I think with or without CrossFit, it was probably bound to happen that the barbell is going to come about in a different, more powerful way in the future eventually.
The fitness community tends to want to cannibalize itself a lot. The powerlifting, powerlifting does it a lot too, where it's like even within the sport itself, there's too much like infighting for the sport to really grow. And
a bunch of haters.
Yeah, a bunch of haters. There's a lot of hatefulness just going around. Period. And it's just. It's unnecessary, and there's money to be made for everybody. There's a place at the table for everybody. There's a place at the table for everybody to get a little pat on the back saying, hey, that 800-pound deadlift was pretty cool. But hey, that 6-minute mile was pretty damn cool too from somebody else or whatever. And everyone wants to just really hold on to these different things that they have. Even me, you know, myself with my company, there's so much other room. There's other room for other companies to come in and make money. And that's why there are new companies all the time. I think, you know, myself and Mike's been a big part of it as well in making the Slingshot brand so popular. And with us making money and doing well, we kind of do a good job of making it look easy. And so other companies have followed suit and have done, you know, knee wraps and wrist wraps, and they've hopped along the train there, the fitness train. But the thing is, why would I get all upset and crazy about that when I can just keep focusing in on what I'm doing, keep making what I'm doing better, and not worry about what other people are doing? There's just money to be made for everybody. There's a place at the table for each person. So when it comes to strongman or powerlifting or CrossFit, I think we should all just try to embrace what each other are doing, because it's all in the fitness category. It's all in the category of making yourself better, self-improvement. And what's better than that?
Yeah, you can pick up a lot from each. We talked about this on a podcast last week. We had a very top-level CrossFitter on, and, you know, obviously powerlifting kind of leads the way in terms of like periodization, strength, obviously with the barbell. Bodybuilding's kind of always led the way with diet because their stuff's so extreme, but there's a lot of stuff we pick up from that. And CrossFit, in my opinion, is it really led the way, obviously with combining all these things, but with kind of rehab, prehab, mobility stuff. There's not a more educated community. We have tons of power, even on our team, you know, which is an elite powerlifting team that are numbskulls that have no idea what's going on, you know, and they're all beat up and they're lifting like crap and whatever. But you go into a CrossFit facility or something like that, and those guys they know like, oh, Mark's knee hurt. I know it's not his knee. I know it's his hip, right? Because everything works upstream, downstream. Like they're just educated. They're self-educated, and they're normally willing to learn and grow. So there's kind of no reason to to knock another one.
Right. Well, yeah, it was interesting. You were saying that, you know, strong men think of as being the sort of dysfunctional type. Like when I was growing up, I'd watch The World's Strongest Man. I'm like, well, that guy's walking at least. Like he's carrying something.
Yeah.
I would look at a power lifter and be like, you know, you just envision him like getting out of breath going up a flight of stairs.
No, I didn't mean about
I'm the strongest man in the world, but I'm in pain all the goddamn time. Do you feel like it's getting more functional? Like the power lifter is a more functional guy?
I didn't mean, I just meant the organizations are dysfunctional, not necessarily
the athlete.
Yeah. No, the athlete. The athlete and the movements are fine, you know.
And that's super individual too. Yeah. You know, there's powerlifters that are fat as hell, and there's powerlifters that are so jacked. Right. You know, there's CrossFitters that have a little bit higher body fat. There's some CrossFitters that are jacked out of their mind. Same with weightlifters. You know, the strongest weightlifter I think right now is Iranian. Maybe he's very overweight. What would seem, right? But then there's who's the guy that's around sometimes with Cal Strength? Gold medalist. I don't know. The guy's jacked out of his freaking mind. You know, there's a piece of everything, and it's just like humans, right? And like we're all little snowflakes or whatever the hell you want to say. But it's true.
All different. All different.
When it comes to like functional strength and stuff like that, you know, I always think it's kind of funny because I'm like, you know, show me a non-functional movement. You know, I don't know what that looks like or what that would even be. I mean, just because you use a Smith machine or just because you use a machine to train your triceps or your biceps, I don't see how that would not be functional. It just happens to be functional for maybe something slightly different than what you might want it to be functional for. So maybe that person who's using it is using it for their goals, not your goals.
Specificity, right? Typing's functional for a secretary.
What about a really shitty squat? What does that carry over?
I mean, it's still just
that means you need to watch more of our videos.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. Yeah, watch more videos and just use a little less weight, maybe. You know.
Okay.
What? No, never.
It starts at 225. That's the one thing that I've observed is it doesn't matter what you're doing as long as there's 225 on the bar. In a
2 wheels.
Yes.
Well, you don't even have to lift it. You just have to look like you're lifting it every once in a while. Walk back and forth, pace back. Yeah. There you go. You get the arms going. Yeah.
Walk around the gym.
Hold your back. Stretch your hammies.
Sees it.
Kevin Hart does the best impersonation of that. It's like you got 3 plates over here. He's all wilding out. Checking the bar.
Just look like you're sweating and be like, "Yep, that was a hell of a workout."
So I may have discovered some of the history of that thinking though recently, because a buddy of mine was telling me that he had this fantasy. He's like, I've always wanted to do this thing that I heard Arnold used to do, where you take a barbell and you take 2 plates, you go out in the wilderness with a couple of women and a bunch of meat, and you put the barbell down on the ground. Everybody does as many deadlifts as they can, then you have sex with the women, then you eat the meat. Have you heard this story before?
I think you just explained. I think you just explained Mark's life. Yeah,
but it's like
his weekend camping adventures.
Thanks for exposing me on the podcast here.
But it was this mythical tale that he was like, I've always wanted to do this, and I was like, well, we can do it, but we're gonna like have my kids there.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little awkward. Yeah.
Doing that.
Seems doable. Doesn't seem that out there.
No, I think it's kind of a cool story, isn't it? I mean, whatever, the whole sex part. It's kind of silly, but
just gets those testosterone levels up, I guess.
I just ended up having sex with the weights.
Coming in the gym and coming in home.
Anyway.
I'm gonna switch.
Transition into the next one.
How about we talk about fat feet? That's what I have written on my pad.
Fat feet.
Yeah, why do you have a notepad?
Well, hey, now just to be clear, wide feet are not fat feet.
Oh, okay.
But what if you have wide, fat feet?
They can.
What is the difference between wide and fat?
I've got some wide ass feet, but my feet are the most vascular part of my body too.
Hey now,
buddy. Buddy.
That's right.
You're welcome, listeners. Yeah.
I mean, they're shredded.
Yeah. Vasodilated.
I've been told I have man's feet. A man's feet. That's
manly feet.
Yeah, sorry. A man's foot right there.
Manly men's feet.
Do you have fat feet? Is that why you wrote that down?
Yeah.
I got some round feet. No, he was just saying, "Oh, your feet look round or something."
I was
wide.
complimenting him on his wide shoes because I like wide shoes.
Yeah, they have a wide.
I have sausagey feet. Like in the heat, they definitely like sandals.
They go up.
Yeah, they like, and then if you have sandals, it kind of squeezes the fat around it.
How about when you were preggers? How are those?
Did you have
They
fat
didn't
feet?
swell that bad.
Oh, they didn't swell up.
She
My
was
face, I got
supposedly
fat
pregnant.
face.
She wasn't pregnant
Pretty
like
fat.
that.
Fingers
I think
swelled
I
up?
got
No,
sodium
No,
too.
it was all up here.
just in the face.
Yeah,
Looking like a
that
powerlifter.
was terrible.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I didn't notice until I looked at pictures. I was like, oh god.
Yeah.
That creep up on you.
Yeah.
How far along were you when you did the CrossFit Games?
I was, about 8 weeks. So
That's so crazy.
it was terrible.
That's pretty crazy.
So I found out that I was pregnant about 10 days before we left for the games.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed about a month before that, I was like, man, things are really hard. Like we did the 3-3 workout, which was a 3,000 meter row, 300 double unders, and a 3-mile run. And I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever done. I was like, oh no. I had to stop and like puke I was like, no, this is terrible. And I had no idea what was wrong.
That was this year?
That was 2015.
Oh, gotcha.
And then, so we were just practicing for the games. And then I peed on a stick 10 days before we left because I hadn't gotten my period. And I was like, oh no. But I didn't tell my teammates because I didn't want them to kick me off the team. I was like, well, give it a go.
That's great.
You think they would have kicked you off the team?
Jerks.
Sorry, guys. I don't know.
They might have done it, just so
Yeah.
They might have worried about you a lot,
That's
right?
what I was,
Yeah.
But I lived. She lived. She's cute. We're
So
all good.
cute,
We're all good to
yeah.
go.
That's amazing. That's so crazy.
Terrible.
But speaking of that, speaking of Cassie, you hang out with a lot of really strong women. Did you kind of see this golden age of strong women coming off in the distance? Like, it seems like...
Dream about it. Yearn for it.
Uh,
that word.
Or is this a golden age of
No,
strong
I
women?
think that women are still just scratching the surface of what they're capable of. I think what we're seeing from CrossFit, and this is just in my opinion, I think the women are more impressive than the men when it comes to their muscularity and their strength levels. And I don't mean like, obviously they're not lifting more than the men. They don't weigh more than the men. But I just mean in terms of where women were before to where they are now, and where the men were before to where they are now. The men are like kind of in the same spot. Like they traditionally deadlift over 500 pounds in CrossFit, and they're still kind of there. There's guys that squat, 400 pounds. There's a bunch of them, but with the women, it's like, I think, kind of in the beginning, it seemed like a 275 pound deadlift, 300 pound deadlift was kind of a hard thing for women. Now, not in a powerlifting setting, a 315, you start to get over 350, and you're talking about a really good deadlift for a female. And it seems like almost all the top level CrossFit women deadlift 350 and above, and even Brooke Wells doing a 415 deadlift in the CrossFit Games this year after she ran a 7K trail run or whatever the fuck that was. It's unbelievable. So I think you're just starting to see the beginning of what women can do, because there's still not as many women as maybe exposed to some lifting as there are men, I think, in my opinion. The CrossFit has helped that quite a bit, but I think that the more women that are exposed to it, the more freaks and the more crazy lifts you're going to see from the females.
Sure, yeah, and there are probably a lot of people who are just they're not accustomed to the idea of seeking strength as a goal. Like, I'm going to get stronger.
Yeah, and the more people that think that, and that goes even with the men. The more people that at the age of 7 or 6 are like, I'm going to be a CrossFitter.
Yeah.
The more people that do that, the more crazy shit you're going to see, because now it's a wider pool of people. Football was kind of the only game in town for a long time. Baseball, those were kind of the two main things or even basketball, I guess, to a certain extent.
Yeah, but ladies, not even. Like, what every girl plays soccer, and that's it.
Volleyball.
Maybe
Yeah,
volleyball and
yeah,
softball.
yep.
Now maybe basketball is a little bit more. Maybe there's some fringe golf or tennis or something, gymnastics.
Well, the women are always kind of pushed aside, especially in strength
Ba-bum-bum.
sports. The women are always just kind of like, yeah, we'll have some stuff for the girls.
Yeah,
too,
but we didn't even playing high school sports. The guys always weight trained.
Yep.
Yeah.
The girls never got to weight
Well,
train.
and
Or
even-
we'd go in like once a
But
semester.
even that's evolved with the guys in the 90s. I mean, Michael Jordan didn't lift weights until 1992. You know, like even the guys. Now every basketball player is doing something.
Yeah.
Every football player, tennis players. You hear Tiger Woods benches 350. You know, like everything's starting to evolve.
Well, they used to talk for years. They talked about how dangerous cheerleading was, and I'm like, well, cheerleading's not dangerous. The girls are out of shape. You know, they're not. I'm not saying they're out of shape in terms of their
Made a bunch of
the way
cry.
the way their bodies
We
look.
have a lot of cheerleaders.
Yeah,
not
they have no
talking-
muscle. They have no muscle.
Yeah, I'm not talking about.
But yeah, they're untrained.
Yeah.
Sure. You try to lift
Yeah.
without.
They're
the idea of
untrained.
how
There
to
you go.
put people-
That's a better way of saying it. I'm not saying that they look bad. I'm saying that they're not physically
Yeah.
fit enough to handle the jumping and the different things that they're doing, and they're crashing down on their ankle, and then they're busting their ankle.
Yep. It's a huge disservice to women, I think, in general. And I remember I had to, in high school, lift with the football team because there was no one to lift with my girlfriends on the girls' team.
We're playing footsie. Don't mind us.
Cute. There's a little lip there.
Those wide fat feet.
But like, women, I mean, I think part of the reason, and Chrissy, you can correct me, but you know, women tear their ACLs to death, and maybe if they learned how to squat.
Q
or
angle,
learned
am I right,
how-
doctor?
You are.
But like learning how to properly
hard.
jump and land and run, and I think boys get to
didn't
learn
say
that,
anything
and
except a
girls
word.
don't.
A letter.
Q? Yes.
Angle.
Anyway, continue, guys.
But yeah, I just think it's.
Yeah.
it's
It
huge.
needs to get worked on.
Well, even addressing, you know, the women with, you know, women typically will have wider hips, and then their knees are kind of inside of where their hips are, and then the feet kind of trail back outward a little bit. So when you go and you travel down the leg towards the knee is like inward a little bit. And so a lot of times their knees will cave in a lot when they do different exercises. But even with that being said, that they have childbearing hips, that's not like something that's going to automatically blow out your knees.
Exactly.
Through exercise. But if you exercise more and become stronger, that'll be less of a problem. Like that, you were built that way for a reason. You're not built that way so you blow out your ACL all the time from doing anything.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, if you make yourself stronger in some of these positions that you're trying to get in when you cheerlead or when you do powerlifting or any other sport, then you won't be injured. You won't
Yeah,
be
going
hurt.
back to like you ask about semi-different, but 4 weeks, what do you do for a powerlifting meet? It's all like skill and motor pattern improvement, right? And that's kind of that whole knee deal. Like a girl squatting 315 won't improve her ACL like rehabilitation, or chances that she won't bust it, but her getting her knees out in the proper knee tracking in a squat will. Because then under high impact of cutting on a suicide basketball sprint, or if a girl comes and clips her from the side in soccer, she's more likely to land in the proper position where that thing's not going to burst.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, because I think we see it a lot that people want to treat women athletes like they're fragile and a special case. And yeah, there's a few differences between men and women, but how they train and how you can train them and coach them, really no different. And I think part of the reason why sometimes we may get injured is because we are treating them so different, or we're changing their nutrition to a point where it's like, look, we can eat carbs. We're women, but trust me, I put down carbs. Like I don't need to stay away from them, you know. But it's like, oh, the hormones are different, the training patterns are different, and you put them on this completely different. It's like, no, trust me, like we can do the same thing.
I think
just
it's
in a
a
different
real
approach.
popular thing right now, and it's a selling point for coaches, is to say, "Oh, I'm not going to put you on the same program as Silent Mike." Well, why wouldn't you put me on the same program?
Cookie cutter's
Silent
kind of
Mike's
good.
lifting pretty good. you
Strength
know?
to strength.
Yeah.
Well, and then also, like, if a cookie cutter, quote unquote, cookie cutter program never worked, then how does any team ever get successful? How did the Green Bay Packers build what they used to have, or the Chicago Bulls, or any of these teams that have
The
built
Bears.
these? The Bears.
The Bears.
Any of these teams that built these like dynasties, how have they done it? They do train as a team. So according to what coaches are selling now, you can't train like the guy next to you. So that wouldn't work, you know, technically, right?
Yeah, I think it's broader than just sex. It's age. Obviously, you're not going to max out if you're not a powerlifter, arguably, or if you're 15 first time squatting. But age, height, weight, sex, obviously, like there's even sports, bodybuilding and powerlifting are way more similar than people want to say. There's different exercise selection, but we do plenty of bodybuilding type movements in terms of isolation movements, if you want to call them, in our off season. The tan part is very similar. You got to look good in your singlet. But even, you know, CrossFit, whatever it may be, is like there's certain just laws that work, and everybody needs to follow them almost regardless of your goal. If you're trying to gain weight, you're going to eat more calories. If you're trying to lose weight, you're going to eat less calories. Like, yeah, there's a little more to it, but not that much. If you want to get stronger, you're going to have to lift a barbell with progressively more weight or reps or sets over fucking 10 years, and you're going to eventually get stronger. And that's going to, in bodybuilding, that's going to do the same, because you're going to have to grow more muscle to lift that more weight to support the fucking progressive overload. Like, it's simpler than people want to make it, because they do want that answer. They do want, like, like, oh, you're a girl, Stephanie, you're over here on the step mill. Oh, little Tommy, we're doing curls, you know? Or you're a bodybuilder, we're only going to do dumbbells. We're not going to do flat bench or whatever it is.
But it is still, it's hard to get as strong as you could be. All right. Like, so when I bet you have people coming to you all the time saying, oh, I want to get strong AF right here. You know, I'm going to be the best, strongest version of myself. Do you find yourself warning those people like, no, getting strong ain't no joke?
It is difficult. It's difficult to make progress over a long period of time, but it depends on the commitment level of the person too. If they come in and they have at least a decent understanding of training, that helps a lot. It kind of shows you like, okay, this person at least did a little bit of their homework. Maybe they're not crazy strong right now. Like maybe they haven't really built up or acquired a lot of strength yet because it just takes time. But at least they've done some research. At least they know who Mike is. They know who I am. They know about some of these various training methods, and they've tried a couple different things. Then it's actually very easy to start to steer them in the right direction. Prime example is we have a lifter in our gym who's a bodybuilder as well. And he came in and I think he was deadlifting around 635. And within, I think, 4 months, he deadlifted 715. Now, 635 deadlift is already like...
That's no joke.
Already very strong, very, very strong. And even in powerlifting terms, it's pretty damn good. But for him to go to 715 that quickly, it's not anything crazy that we did at super training. It's more a byproduct of him coming in already at least knowing some of how his body works, along with just training alongside us.
Get some tips being in their eyes on him.
Yeah, being in a good environment, and we do kind of try to coach like nearly every rep and every set, and we're on each other about the form and stuff like that. But that's a huge factor is people that want to get stronger, people that want to get better. The commitment level they have to that is going to be the biggest determining factor on how fast they can get stronger.
I think it's a matter of like how much, like Mark said earlier, powerlifting is boring as shit. Like if you can bench squat dead for the next 10 years and not get injured, you're going to be pretty strong. Almost regardless of program, almost regardless of nutrition. Like those things will obviously accelerate the process, but it's boring because it's like I don't even know what to compare it to, but like you're just doing the same thing over and over, and there's a lot of skill involved, and there's a lot of grind involved in that. You know, all the cliche of hustle grind, but it's so true. It's because it's every Thursday for the last 5 years. Me and Mark have benched together, and Mark's benched between 315 and 455 for those years in different sets and reps, and I benched between 225 and 315 every freaking Thursday at 2 o'clock. That's what we do, you know. And like, is that glamorous or fun? Not really. We try to have fun. We try to mess around, and that's where the Instagrams and the YouTube and stuff comes into play. But like the actual process of self-improvement is the same thing of, if you want to get deep or whatever and talk about like becoming a better person or being nicer to people, like you can't just do it. But like once you start thinking about it daily, you think about doing one nice task for something every single day, and then over time maybe you're a better person because you open the door for a lady now, before when you used to just not give a shit what they were doing. Self-talk.
Well, you couldn't even reach for it. You're such a dysfunctional individual. You couldn't get your arm high enough.
You just got to open the door, and then you're going to heaven.
Mobilize that shoulder. And taking your mind, I think that's what helped me with CrossFit, is like being willing to do stuff that's scary. Like put 225 for me over my head was like terrifying, but you have to do, like you have to go there in order to improve, and that's
a lot of weight.
What's that, a jerk? Yeah, that's pretty strong. I can't do that.
You have to challenge yourself.
Right.
You have to, and it's going to make you, in a lot of ways, it's going to make you a stronger person. I think sometimes what Mike and I run into, unfortunately, run into some just really, really hardcore meatheads, and all they know is the lifting. And it's sad to see sometimes. You're like, man, I wish this person would just understand what they could do with the rest of their life if they're able to make some of these awesome changes inside the gym with the weights they're able to move, like how awesome of a person this person actually is, and they don't even fucking recognize it because they're such a meathead. They're just kind of intertwined with the weights. But yeah, if you're somebody who's able to make big changes with fitness, you're able to lose body fat, you're able to gain strength on your bench press, then you could probably make some big positive changes in your life that will impact your life and other people's lives.
It's a pretty good spot to wrap up the conversation on that.
Hey now.
I feel like a better person. I'm ready to go.
Well, no, you could be. You could.
You gotta lift more weight.
You could also be the
deadlift yourself to a better
exactly.
person.
Well, thanks for coming and talking with us, guys. They're going to go give us a badass bench seminar over in the bodybuilding.com gym here in a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's time to lift.
Yeah.
Is it really?
I think so, buddy.
All right, we'll have so you can go to supertraining.tv.gov.
You can go to howmuchyoubench.net and get all the greatest strength training gear that you can find on the market. And I'm at Mark Smellybell on Instagram and Twitter. My YouTube channel is supertraining06 it's youtube.com/supertraining06. And here's Silent Mike.
You can find me on his shit and iTunes, Mark Bell's PowerCast.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you.
Great.
Thank you.